Hello Maritime, I'm Dan Botelho, here with breaking news regarding the record-breaking Eastern Equine Encephalitis or Triple E season in Massachusetts. Triple E mainly spreads via bird-mosquito life cycle. It is spread through the bite of an infected mosquito. Anybody could become infected, but people under the ages of 15 and over the ages of 50 are especially vulnerable. Here is Josh Griffin with more information regarding the dangers of this fatal disease, Triple E.
Yes, Dan. These extreme symptoms of Triple E typically appear 4 to 10 days after exposure. They include 103 to 106 degree fever, stiff neck, headache, and lack of energy. And they all last 1 to 2 weeks. If the nervous system goes unaffected, which occurs 95% of the time, recovery may be possible when the virus runs its course. Once a person recovers, their risk of reinfection significantly decreases, and the other 5% of diagnosis are the most serious and dangerous form of Triple E, which includes swelling of the brain. Triple E worsens very quickly. Some patients lapse into a coma in under a week. Triple E is a very rare disease. The first case in Massachusetts was in 1938, and since then there have been fewer than 100 cases. However, over 60% of those cases were in Norfolk County or here in Plymouth County, and over half of the people identified with it died. Survivors often are permanently disabled. Let's head to one of the highest rated mosquito activity areas in Mass.
Common mosquito habitats in Bourne are vernal pools, swamps, marshes, and bogs. Here we're standing at one of the biggest marshes in Bourne, and it's one of the best habitats for these Triple E carrying mosquitoes.
So birds infected with Triple E migrate from Florida to Massachusetts for the trees found in red maple and white cedar swamps, the same habitat as the Triple E carrying mosquitoes. Out of convenience, the birds become blood meals for the mosquitoes, which subsequently pick up the virus. Other species of mosquitoes that primarily feed on mammals will occasionally also feed on birds, becoming a gateway for Triple E to go from birds to mammals, which include horses and people. Horses and people are accidental hosts, and the virus has nowhere to go from here.
Is there any reason that this year has been one of the worst?
What made 2019 such a bad year was how this year the migrating birds brought a slightly different strain of Triple E that none of them are immune to. Taken together, these factors cause outbreaks every 10 to 20 years. On top of this, 2019 was a very wet year, making the swamps even more ideal breeding grounds for mosquitoes. As of right now, there is no available treatment for the Triple E virus. After diagnosis, supportive care is provided, and that's all that can be done. It can be prevented by wearing bug repellent, long sleeves, and pants, and also by avoiding going outside between dusk and dawn. Until there is a frost, Buzzards Bay will remain at or near critical, and this advisory will remain in place. There is no vaccination available to prevent Triple E, but one does exist. There is a human vaccine for Triple E, but it has never been approved for public use. The U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases developed it in the mid-'80s, and it's been under clinical trial ever since. The human vaccine is only used by those enrolled in the clinical trial, which is very selective and expensive. Only non-active duty personnel are able to participate. The vaccine was made from the inactivated whole virus. The human vaccine is safe and effective, but like many other experimental vaccines, it will never be brought to market. Due to the way biologics are approved for use and marketing by the FDA, it is too expensive. It would cost over $150 million to undertake the required clinical trials to provide FDA with the supporting data that they need to evaluate the potential product. Pharmaceutical companies will not devote this time and money unless there is a very good chance of making their money back, and they would not recoup this outlay for a virus as rare as EEE, despite its severity. Unfortunately, that leaves no other way to deploy a new vaccine product, as all must be approved by the FDA, and unless there is a very severe outbreak of EEE, there will most likely never be a vaccine available.
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.